Chosen one, notice the subtle tension in your jaw right now. Notice how your mind is already bracing for another disappointment as you listen to my voice. The enemy wants you to think that heavy, restless feeling in your chest is anxiety, but it is actually your spirit detecting a massive shift. God sent me to interrupt your scrolling to tell you this. The waiting room is officially closed. Your blessing is not delayed, and it is not miles away. It is suspended exactly 1 inch above your life right now. The only reason it hasn't landed is because you are still operating in survival mode, bracing for a hit instead of opening your hands. You were divinely guided here to break that frequency. Silently release the tension in your shoulders, mentally align your soul with this truth, and let your spirit echo "I receive" as we pull heaven down to earth. So why hasn't it dropped into your lap yet? You have prayed, you have fasted, you have waited. I need to tell you a secret that the enemy desperately wants to hide from you. The delay is not a demonic attack, and it is certainly not a lack of faith on your part. To understand why your breakthrough is hovering just out of reach, you have to look at what your hands and your mind are doing right this very second. Look at Exodus chapter 14, verse 14. The English translation says, "The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent." But we lose the profound power in the English translation. The original Hebrew word for silent is charash. Charash does not just mean keeping your mouth shut. It means absolute, paralyzing stillness. It means dropping your weapons and completely ceasing your own efforts to fix the problem. You see, you are trying to pull the blessing down while your hands are still busy trying to orchestrate everything yourself. Before we go any deeper, I need you to commit to staying with me until the very end of this message. If you leave early, you will only hear the diagnosis without receiving the cure. By the end of this video, I am going to reveal a specific, scientifically backed, divine key that will instantly shift your internal frequency and force that hovering blessing to finally drop into your life. You have waited years for this manifestation. Do not let the enemy distract you for the next few minutes. Let us go back to what your hands are doing. Your hands are gripping survival weapons. You are holding up a shield because you think you are still in the middle of a faithfulness test. You think God is still testing how much pain you can endure, how much weight you can carry without breaking. I am here to tell you, congratulations, you passed the faithfulness test a long time ago. Heaven has already stamped your file as approved. You can mentally take a deep breath and let that sink in. You survived the fire. But here is the bitter truth that no one else will tell you. The faithfulness test was just the surface level. It was the cover story. The real test, the one you are in right this exact moment, is the test of invisibility. It is the test of your ability to put down the sword. Will you allow yourself to stop fighting? Let us do some deep surgery right now. The ugly truth, the secret you will not even admit to yourself, is that deep down you are terrified to receive this blessing. I know that sounds crazy. You have been crying out for relief, but part of you is scared to death of what happens when the war is over. Your entire identity has been wrapped up in being the strong one, the survivor, the exhausted warrior who carries everyone else's burdens. If you lower your weapons to open your hands and receive the blessing, you feel vulnerable. You think the moment you let your guard down, the enemy will strike you in the back. Your mind is telling you that peace is a trap. You are so used to chaos that calm feels dangerous. Why does your body physically react this way? Why does your chest tighten and your breathing get shallow when someone tells you everything is going to be okay? What is actually happening inside your nervous system right now? The answer is frequency. Your physical brain has been stuck in a beta brainwave state for years. Beta is the frequency of fight or flight. It is the frequency of survival, stress, and hypervigilance. But the blessing that God has positioned over your head operates on a completely different frequency. It operates on the theta frequency. Theta is the realm of divine connection, deep peace, and open reception. It is a frequency mismatch. You are trying to download a heavenly file on a survival network. It simply will not connect. How did the chosen ones of the past handle this? Look at the prophet Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19. Elijah had just defeated the prophets of Baal. He was exhausted, terrified, and running for his life, stuck in that beta survival mode. He hid in a cave. God told him to go stand on the mountain. A massive wind came and shattered the rocks, but God was not in the wind. An earthquake shook the ground, but God was not in the earthquake. A fire raged, but God was not in the fire. Wind, earthquakes, and fire are all beta frequencies. They are chaos and stress. But then came a gentle whisper, a still, small voice. That is theta. God only spoke, and the manifestation only came when the frequency shifted to absolute stillness. So how do you shift your frequency? How did the ancients do it? The mystics and prophets of old would spend 20 years wandering in the desert. They would fast for 40 days. They would sit in total silence in monasteries for decades just to train their brains to slow down from beta to theta, just to reach that state of charash, that absolute stillness where heaven can make a deposit. They had to manually force their nervous systems to let go of the sword and open the hand. But chosen one, you do not have 20 years. You do not have decades to sit in a cave. Your blessing has an expiration date on its delay, and heaven is flashing the word now. You are exhausted, and God knows you do not have the energy to fight your own brain chemistry anymore. You need an outside intervention to force your frequency to align with heaven today. What if I told you there is a sacred audio key, a frequency tool that modern science recently proved that does in 7 minutes exactly what took the ancients 20 years to achieve in the desert? I am preparing to hand this key over to you right now. Chosen one, what I am about to show you will sound too simple to be true. But remember, the most powerful truths in the kingdom are always the simplest. You do not have decades to wander in the wilderness to train your brain to receive. God knows your exhaustion. Recently, scientists from NASA began studying the brainwaves of true geniuses and spiritual mystics, trying to understand how they access such profound intuition and download solutions seemingly out of thin air. What they discovered is that these individuals operate heavily in the theta frequency. This is not just a scientific phenomenon, it is the exact frequency of divine reception. It is the still, small voice. You have been trapped in the beta survival state, bracing for impact, fighting battles that are no longer yours to fight. But there is a sacred audio key, a sound technology known as the genius wave, that uses brainwave entrainment to gently guide your mind out of beta and lock it into theta. It does not require you to sit in a cave. It simply requires you to listen for 7 minutes a day. It is an activation mechanism that restores the frequency you were actually born with before the trauma of this world forced you into survival mode. This is not a magic trick. It is a spiritual tool, a bridge between human biology and divine grace. If your spirit confirms this word, and if you feel led to investigate this NASA-backed frequency tool, I have placed the information in the pinned comment for you to explore. But having the tool to pull the blessing down is only the beginning. Let me ask you a very dangerous question. When your frequency shifts and that massive blessing finally drops into your open hands, how do you stop the enemy from stealing it right back in the first 7 days? The answer is a framework you must memorize today. I call it the Silent Vault Protocol. You see, the moment heaven releases your manifestation, the enemy will try to make you fumble it. They want you to drop it. To keep it secure, you must follow 3 absolute rules. Rule number 1 is internal reception. When the blessing lands, do not immediately react with wild, chaotic emotion. Receive it with a quiet, deep knowing. Rule number 2 is absolute silence. For the first 7 days, this blessing goes into Circle 1. Circle 1 means it is between you and God alone. You do not text your friends. You do not post it online. You do not share the dream before the manifestation is fully anchored. Premature sharing invites premature judgment and spiritual opposition. Rule number 3 is emotional management. You must stay in that theta frequency of peace, not the manic energy of hype. Look at Proverbs chapter 10, verse 22. It says, "The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it." The English word sorrow does not do justice to the original text. The Hebrew word used there is etzeb. Etzeb literally translates to painful toil, agonizing labor, or struggling sweat. What God is actually saying is that when a blessing comes from Him, and when you are in the correct frequency to receive it, you will not have to forcefully grip it, toil over it, or sweat to maintain it. If you are struggling and stressing to keep a blessing, you have dropped out of theta and gone back to beta. The silent vault protocol keeps you free from etzeb. But hear me closely, chosen one. The enemy cannot read your mind, but they can observe your frequency. When they see that you have stopped fighting, when they see your hands are open and you have entered the silent vault, they will panic. They will launch 3 highly specific phantom attacks designed to make you panic and open your mouth. You need to know exactly what these are so you do not fall for them. The first attack is the phantom threat. Within days of you receiving your breakthrough, the enemy will project an illusion of loss. Something small will go wrong, a minor inconvenience, or a delayed email, and the enemy will immediately whisper in your mind, "See, it was a trick, you are losing it. Grab your sword. Fight back." When this happens, mentally declare, "I refuse to fight an illusion. I am resting in the truth." The second attack is the impatience trap. Because you are so used to hustling and surviving, sitting still with a blessing will feel unnatural. The enemy will tell you that if you do not actively force the next door to open, God will change His mind. They will push you to manipulate the outcome. When you feel that urge to rush, mentally picture yourself sitting back in a chair and say to your soul, "I do not have to force what God has already finalized." The third attack is the guilt trip. This is the deadliest one. The moment you start enjoying the peace of the theta frequency, a voice will whisper, "Who do you think you are to rest? Look at everyone else suffering. You do not deserve this. You need to earn this." When that guilt tries to choke you, mentally respond, "My inheritance is a gift, not a wage. I honor God by receiving it with joy." These rules and frequencies might sound abstract to you right now. You might be wondering, has anyone actually applied this and held on to their blessing without fighting? Yes. Let me tell you about a chosen one who was exactly where you are 9 months ago. I will not use their name, but they are likely listening to this very frequency right now. 9 months ago, they were devastated by a financial betrayal. Their instinct, their beta survival response, was to go to war, to argue, to fight for what was theirs. But they heard a message just like this one. They realized they were fighting the wrong battle. They made a radical choice. They stopped arguing. They began using the sound technology to shift their brain into theta. They applied the silent vault protocol. They did not tell anyone about the business idea God downloaded to them in that state of deep peace. They just worked in absolute silence. Their family thought they had given up. Their friends thought they were depressed. But they were just resting in the frequency of reception. On day 40 of their silence, a company they had never pitched to contacted them out of nowhere. It was a contract worth 3 times what they had lost in the betrayal. If they had stayed in survival mode, if they had fought for the old crumbs, their hands would have been too full to catch the feast that was dropping from above. I know of another chosen one who used this exact framework 2 years ago when dealing with severe loneliness. Instead of forcing relationships and going on endless dates in a state of anxious beta energy, they shifted their frequency. They stopped striving. When a counterfeit person entered their life looking perfect on paper, they used the silent vault. They did not rush. They rested. The counterfeit got angry at their boundaries and left. 6 months later, the The true divine connection walked in seamlessly, without etseb, without painful toil. These are not fairy tales. These are the exact mathematical outcomes of matching heaven's frequency. And you are next. Chosen one, prepare your spirit. We are going to seal this right now. You do not need to stand up. You do not need to change your physical location. Wherever you are, whether you are lying in bed or sitting in your car, I want you to simply change your mental posture. In your mind, turn your palms upward toward heaven. This is not a regular prayer. This is an activation. This is a commissioning. By the mighty and matchless authority of Yeshua, Jesus Christ, the King of Kings, I declare this moment is a divine intersection. Heaven is fully open, and the atmosphere in your room has just shifted. Father, I thank you for this chosen one. You saw the 3 a.m. tears. You saw the panic attacks they hid from their family. You saw their hands bleeding because they held onto the sword of survival for so long, terrified that if they let go, their world would end. But they are still here. They did not quit, and their quiet endurance in the dark has completely qualified them for the light. Right now, I seal the theta frequency into their mind. I command the chaotic beta waves of survival, anxiety, and trauma to bow to the peace of God that transcends all understanding. I seal the silent vault protocol into their spirit. When the blessing drops, they will not fumble it. They will not broadcast it prematurely. They will hold it in quiet confidence. I bind the phantom threat. I bind the impatience trap. I bind the guilt trip. Every demonic assignment sent to make them feel unworthy of rest is cancelled instantly. I decree that in the next 40 days, the invisible ceiling is entirely removed. The blessings hovering over their life are released. Financial doors that require no agonizing toil are swinging open. Divine connections that bring peace, not confusion, are locating them now. They are transitioning from the warrior to the inheritor, from the one who fights to the one who receives. God is asking you a question right now, and I need you to answer it in the depths of your soul. Will you put the sword down? Will you allow yourself to be blessed without fighting it? Will you accept the peace? If your answer is yes, I want you to mentally declare these 5 words with everything inside you. I receive and I rest. Say it again in your spirit. I receive and I rest. Heaven heard that. The angels have recorded it. Your nervous system has accepted it. You are officially dismissed from the waiting room. You are released from the battlefield. Go and step into the manifestation. In the mighty name of Yeshua. Do not say amen yet. Just sit in this absolute stillness for a moment. Feel the invisible weight lifting off your chest. Feel the blessing landing in your open hands. Now, you can say, Amen.